Right, good morning peoples of YouTubes. We are going to be refreshing this engine to a degree. If you've seen the other videos, you'll know that the engine that I've put in recently, that the oil cooler literally shat itself and stuck a load of coolant in the oil. And I started up and didn't realise and went back to it, and you could hear the rods knocking. So this is my spare engine, which I was going to use for a spare engine for the 2023 season. This is now going to be the priority engine to getting this done, and then we'll rebuild the other one when we take it out. Now the aim of this really is for quickness of getting the rear subframe and engine back in, because I don't want to take the engine and subframe out and then having to wait while I build this engine. So we'll do this first, and then when we get the engine out of the subframe at the rear, we can then just take one out and put one in, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Right, now this isn't without issues. This is also either got head gasket failure or the oil cooler has shut itself again. So all I've done here is I've just taken the top cover off and just confirmed this. You can't see really much at the minute, but when I took it all apart, all this was all creamy and white and horrible. But we'll get the oil drained later on and you'll be able to see that. But what the plan is at the minute is we're going to strip this engine down as much as we can, so take all the head off and everything, make it a bit more manageable, so we can get the, if I can find, get this bolted on, and then I can lift the bottom end block onto the engine stand, and then we'll go through and do all the stuff that we need to do, as well as giving it a good old clean, because it's a little bit filthy, bit of a dirty pig. So yeah, that is today's goal. I'll set you up again. I've only got my phone at the minute. I've misplaced my GoPro somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but I'll set you up on the phone, bit of a time lapse. We'll get this broken down and onto the stand, and then hopefully I can come back to you and say this is what we found and this is what we're going to do. So let's crack on. got that stripped down quite a bit, and on the stand, as I say, the only thing really that I've already taken off was the top cam cover and timing belt covers, and obviously the coil packs. But apart from that, that was about it. Right, so where to go now? We're going to give it a good old degrease, because you can see all the horrible oil that's been leaking out of it for multiple of times, especially down here. So I'm going to have to change this anyway to a non oil cooled version, which I've got for one of my other engines, so we can stick that on there. I have a new filter obviously, and the oil take-off sandwich plate for the sensors and for my oil cooler. And obviously we need to get rid of these lines as well. They're not looking in the best condition, so I think they're pretty much scrap. Come around the other side. This side isn't looking too bad. Need to get the water pump off, and obviously drain the oil and take the sump off, because we need to fit a oil baffle plate. I'm not too sure if I've got a spare one or not, so we might have to wait or buy another one. I don't think they're too expensive, only about 40 quid I think they are for just a standard baffle plate. So it might be worth, because I think one of them I destroyed when the engine went at Cadwell, so I think the only one I have left is now in the car at the minute. So I might just purchase another one just to get it in. We're not going to take any lines out, we're not going to take any of the pistons out, we're not going to take the crank out, we're not going to take any of the rods out or the rod bearings. We're just going to take it as it is and just refresh it with a few gaskets, water pump, timing belt. Again, I think the water pump and the timing belt off the old engine that was on the Cadwell Explosion, they're all good and they're all new, so we'll just reuse them for now. But yeah, we'll just measure the line heights. I think they're pretty much on the flush scale, but we'll just do that. We're fitting the elastomer gasket anyway, so no reason for to put any shims in, as long as they're either level or above the actual block face. So the gasket, I mean, you can probably saw from the time lapse the state of the bolts that came out of the oil. But yeah, I'm just debating whether it was a head gasket or not. It's had a head saver shim on it, which is nice. Not too sure if that is bloody K-seal or something. It's very gummy, so it could possibly be. But no, I can't really see anything wrong with that gasket. Right, let's get this head flipped over and inspect the face of the head. Right, that's not looking too good, to be honest with you. I think this head has been skimmed many a times, because as you can see, well, you can just see the old datum points, the indents to where it used to be, and you're not really meant to skim past them at all, because obviously this is a hardened surface. I'll show you on another head that I've got over here what it should look like. You can see these indents in here. I mean, these are quite deep, these ones are, but yeah, you can see it's not very well at all. and I don't really want to put I mean, that head will probably go again. I mean, not all the surfaces are okay. There's no ridges or anything in there. But I don't really want to put an elastomer gasket on that, because I think that'll just be too close. That might contact the pistons. I mean, this one here had a really thick multi-layered gasket with a head saver shim, so that's where you get your distance from. And I think if I just put a normal elastomer gasket on there, you know, it might be a little bit too close for comfort. Yeah, so I don't really know what to do about that at the minute. I have got another 160 head that we could use, I think. Have I got another 160 head, or would have valve damage on it? I'm not really too sure. So leave that with me for now. I'm going to get on and give all this a good old clean with some gunk degreaser, and then once that's all done, then I should be able to come to you with a final decision on what we're going to do with this head. But that's quite disappointing, to be honest with you, because I paid quite top money for this engine, but the guy who I bought it off, he wouldn't have known no different anyway, so that's your luck basically. Right, let's get on and get this engine block cleaned up, and we'll go from there. Right, we got to a stage now where I've got it stripped apart as much as I would need it, and got the old sump pulled off. You can see the state of this oil that's dripping out of. And it's got a the older style oil rail, so we'll replace that with an uprated one while we're here. But yeah, all I'm going to do now is, I've obviously got the oil pump off, water pump, all the brackets and sensors, so we're going to give it a bit of a paint, try and tidy it up a little bit, and then hopefully if there's any leaks, then that'll make it obvious where the leaks are coming from. So I tried to put stickers on the car last year to make it go faster, that didn't work. So we're going to add some red paint. I'm going to paint the block red, because we all know that red paint adds at least 10 horsepower. So we're going to try that first. Right. Not going to do anything too pretty, just going to slap it on with a brush. It's only caliper paint. But yeah, just going to slap it on with a brush and just see how it turns out like, really. Right, we've got the first coat on. The actual paint inside the tin was a bit congealed, so yeah, it's drying okay at the minute. So we'll see how long it lasts. On the camera it looks really, really pink, but it is actually matte red. This is what I used to paint like the TF calipers, because the front forepots came in a matte red. So I used to use this and paint the rear ones to match the front ones basically, and this is what I had left over. I'm not really too sure how long it's been in the back of the cupboard for, but we gave it a good old mix up and slapped it on, and as I say, it's drying, and I guess it's not really coming off, so hopefully with some heat in the engine. I've got the little fan heater on at the minute, just giving that the best possible start. I mean, this side's pretty much the same. So yeah, we're going to leave this to dry overnight now, and then I'll come back in the morning, stick another coat on it. Not too sure if I'll get another full coat on or not, because the paint is quite low in the tin, so we might just have to mix it up with a little bit of thinners and hopefully thin it out a little bit, and that will spread across the whole block. But as I say, the coverage is quite good for the first lot. So yeah, as I say, we'll leave it to dry overnight, and then we'll come back to it in the morning, get the old heat on, get the block nice and warm, and then we'll try and attempt to get another coat on at least, and then we can start building up the engine to just start building up the engine basically. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. The thing of paint fumes has gone to my head a bit now. But I've had a response back from this head. The consensus is that it will be okay. There's, as I say, it's been skimmed to the inch of his life. You can just see where the datums are. You can't really skim them past there, especially in the series that we're in. It's not, that don't allow you to skim that far, but this one should be okay, and yeah, we'll get a little bit of more high compression, I guess. So hopefully a couple of more horse and powers. Yeah, so the general consensus is that it will be good to run with an elastomer gasket on it. Yeah, so I'll just give it a quick clean up with some wet and dry and some WD-40, and it's come up okay. So I'm quite happy to use that. And as I say, it's in spec for the regulations, because you can still see the datum points. So yeah, we'll slap it all together. We'll obviously take all this manifold off, get all that off, change the cam seals. I don't think I'm going to take the VVC mechanisms off. Normally when they've been off, or the top carrier's been off, you'll see loads of gunge and silicone sealant sticking out, but I can't see any of that, so I'm not too sure if it's been apart or not. Well, saying that, I guess it has been apart, because it's been bloody skimmed, hasn't it? So you'll need to take it all apart to be skimmed. So yeah, I think I'm going to take this top carrier off and just check everything is okay in there. I don't need to take the VVC mechanisms off the top carrier, but I will have to take this control solenoid off to get to, I think one of the bolts is hidden down underneath it, so you have to take it off anyway. So yeah, we'll take all that off, make sure that's all good, make sure it's all sealed properly, and then time all that up to how it should be, and stick it all back together with a few new gaskets and some sealant. I can't find if I had another baffle, so I'm going to order one of them tonight as well. So we've got one, and I need to order a oil, an uprated oil ladder, because I thought I had one but I haven't, so we'll have to order a new one of them. But yeah, that's about it at the minute. You can probably see I've missed a couple of bits in the paint. Look, we'll hit that with the next coat, I should say. But yeah, I'll leave this to dry overnight, and I'll come back to you in the morning, and hopefully I'll order some bits as well, so they'll be here in the next couple of days as well. Right, here we go. Had a bit of an issue with the paint, as I thought that I would have, and being that it's so old, that started to go all crazy and flaky. So I brushed as much of it off as I could, and then we just hit it with some more caliber spray paint, this time a gloss red one. But there we go, we've cleaned up all the maintenance surfaces, so that's all good. I've still got to do around the tops of the liners and stuff, but we'll do that when the holding tools are out. So yeah, that's all in, ready to go. I've stripped the head down, gave it a little bit of a clean, took all the manifold off and all that sort of stuff, obviously all the VVC mechanisms. I'm going to do a separate video on timing these VVC mechanisms. For anyone who don't know, because I don't think there's much information out there, and when you read the actual workshop manual, it is quite confusing in a sense, and it's saying about using special tools, but you don't need to use special tools. So we'll do that when the head is on and we've got it on the actual block itself. It just makes things a lot easier. So yeah, we'll wait until that's on there and then I'll do a separate video for that. Start cleaning up some other bits and pieces. So some's all clean. This had about, I don't know, 3 or 4 mil of sludge in the bottom. That was disgusting. I've got my oil filter take off. I'm gonna have to remove these sensors and swap them over with for the sensors, because we're adapting to MEMS 3. I think the sensors are slightly different. Old thermostat that come off the blown up engine, just gave that a clean. Alternate bracket, engine mounting bracket. Got this in that manifold, but I have got another one which is in better condition, so I might use that other one. And then obviously all the VVC mechanism and cam carrier and all that sort of stuff. Haven't yet given this a clean. We'll do that when we go to put it all together. But I need to get some VVC seals because they're a little bit weepy, shall we say. So we'll replace them once we got all them out. And obviously the oil control still full of old oil. So yeah, so I'm now going to start bolting on some of the nice bits, i.e. the water pump on the front here, the oil filter, dot, the oil pump, and then we need to flip it over and replace the oil ladder underneath there. So maybe that's my next job. And we've got a nice N series kit here with the uprated oil ladder and the bolts. We're not going to use the gasket, we're going to use a pale blue, because as I say, the liners are a little bit and not the right height for a multi-layered gasket. So let's get this flipped over and let's get this oil ladder changed first, and then we can think about getting all the other stuff on the front here and getting all that built up. Right, so this is the new oil rail ladder, the modified strengthened one. Tells you in instructions to put a continuous bead of sealant, the MG Rover stuff. You can't get that anymore. I think Rimmers, they do a version of it which is in the box, but I have it under good authority. It's the same as that pretty much. So this is what I use for anything oil related. So we'll use that to do the top cam cover as well. You know, the two halves that bolts the cams onto the head. You need to put sealant, and then things like the actual sump itself, I use a different sealant because again there's no gasket on that. So yeah, just a continuous bead of sealant, and then it tells you to roll it on. Nice even coverage. Although you end up taking half of it off and leaving it on the roller itself. But we're only doing what it says. You don't really need a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you, because it's like a machined face to a machined face. So yeah. That's that. Now I think I'll just get a pick and just take some of the chunky stuff out. like the blobs of it out, so it ain't all going in the oil galleries. That will smear in there, so you will get a little bit in there, but right. And then just need to plonk it on, as they say. And that goes in there like that on the studs. I can see the studs. And then 2 nuts, 10mm nuts, and then they get torqued down to 9mm. So I'll just grab a torque wrench, do that, and then we can screw our liner clamps back in place. And I always set these to 20mm, which is the first setting of your head tightening, basically. So yeah, right, torque them down, get them liner clamps back in, and then we can flip it over and start fitting some of the other stuff to the front. Right, as you can see, I've been cracking on, got some bits all in. One thing I did forget to mention is obviously the oil pickup tube. So we gave that a good old clean up, and it's held in with 2 bolts, 12mm. And then we've got the uprated oil pump. I think this come from at least spares, or at least parts. It's got the 11.5 millimeter steel gears inside that. And it's all primed, ready to go. It's got a new MGF gasket on there, torqued down to 10Nm, and just, you have to do the bolts in sequence. So it's basically start with this one here, up to the top, and then round in a spiral type thing. Water pump on, again, bolts 10Nm. This is an old water pump that came off the blown up engine, absolutely perfectly fine. Got the engine mount on, that's 60Nm for them 4 bolts there. At the top here, thermostat in. That bolt there is 9 or 11Nm, I think it's 11Nm. And then obviously we've got the dipstick tube, and they're 9Nm, and then there's 25Nm, and then the stainless steel coolant pipes, them 2 bolts there are 25Nm as well. Sensor, couldn't find a torque value for sensor, but normally with a fine thread like that is about 5Nm, so just nipped up with a ratchet. So now I'm just going to spin this over and then get the bits and pieces on the other side and call it a day. Right, not much on this side, just the alternator bracket. Bolts are 45Nm, and then the oil filter housing with a new genuine gasket. Bolts on them are 10Nm, and I've just swapped the sensors over to the MEMS 3 sensors just in case they're different. They didn't look any different. I didn't check the part numbers, to be honest with you. But yeah, we swapped them over anyway just to be on the safe side. So next thing we need to do is obviously get the head on, and get that all in place, and then we can build up the top end. I can't stick the sump on yet because I'm still waiting for the baffle plate. Hopefully that'll be here in the next couple of days, but that is ordered, and then we can stick that on. And then obviously after the head's on and the VVC mechs and all that sort of stuff is on, then you know it's pretty much done. We can get all the time belt stuff on. I can't do the rear main seal until it's off the stand. So again, when it's off the stand we can do that rear main oil seal. But yeah, that's coming along nicely now. I thought I had to get some VVC gaskets, but it turns out I already got some, which is a bonus. Camshaft seal gaskets, head gaskets, and then inlet manifold and exhaust manifold gaskets. That should be all that I need. Oh, and also the cam cover gasket as well, which I've got there. So yeah, I'm going to have to get these dowels out because they look like the flimsy dowels you get off a non-genuine or crap head gasket kit. Look really thin and horrible. So we've got some nice new ones in there. As you can see, they're much thicker, a lot nicer. So we'll see if we can get them out and then give this a final going over before we sit the head down. I'm going to go too much into it because I've already done a video about building up one of these engines from this sort of point. So yeah, I'll probably leave a link up on the top of the page somewhere to that one. The only thing I am going to concentrate, which I will put in another video, is the VVC timing. Like boxes and shit everywhere now, look. So yeah, you can see there's a mark there that has to line up with that slot in there, and then you bolt it all down basically, and you have to do the same in this one and make sure your shaft is in. These, unless you take all this out, that should already be timed up. So yeah, because we're going to have to take these off to replace these gaskets, we'll just go through tying it all up, and then we can clean up all this old glue. Yeah, and then once you've got all them timing marks in place, you then sit it down on the head, tighten it all down, and then there's like an inspection hole you can see. And what you do is you put the plunger in, and you should see that move round. That should be there. You should see that move round to the inspection hole when you put the plunger in. Where yeah, plunger goes on here, look. So as the plunger goes down, that'll then rotate them teeth, and then you have to just make sure that's all lined up in the holes basically. But we'll go through that properly when we go to put it on, and I'll do a separate video for that. Anyway, it's getting to tea time, so I'm going to call it a day. It's bloody freezing, it's snowing, I've got both of the heaters on full whack on me, and I'm still cold. So I'm going to leave it there, and then hopefully we can come back to it. Won't be tomorrow now. We'll come back to it in a couple of days and get this head on and go and pick it up where we left off.